I'd like to move on to our next guest. We've got Adria Sorovi. She is with the she's a water conservation specialist with the city of Scottsdale, and she'll be talking about the water rebate program. Adria?
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I apologize, you will not be seeing my face today. I promise it's for the best. I am feeling under the weather, and I am thrilled to be discussing our programs with you. I know we have a short time, so I thought I would show you where to find these resources on our website. Can everyone see my screen? Yes? Okay. So first, if you come to our scottsdaleaz.gov website, our main website, and you search workshops, you will find this top results, and you can view a number of workshops that we have pre-recorded. Typically, we would only host these in person, but during the pandemic, we turned to recording and putting these online. So there is a great workshop here, the Water Resources 101, that goes over our resource supplies in the city of Scottsdale, where we get our water from, our portfolio. There isn't necessarily the most recent updates in terms of the 500 plus plan or what may be coming out in the 24-month August study next week, as this was recorded in 2021. But this is a great foundational understanding of how Scottsdale gets its water and treats it throughout the year. There's some also additional workshops that are great. If for some reason you are living in an HOA, or we even have businesses in HOAs, there's a great workshop here about HOAs. Moving on from that, we also have a commercial audit program. So again, if you just go to our main webpage, type in commercial audit and search, you'll get this water resources available for commercial audits. This is a fantastic resource. Normally you would have to pay for a commercial water audit. We do that for you within our program, and we have experts come out. You can request an audit online. In 2018, we helped 27 businesses. And then since 2018, we have been auditing all of the city facilities. So at this point, I believe we've done every single one and have implemented new strategies such as cooling tower controllers that have been saving thousands of gallons a day right now. So it's been a fantastic opportunity for us to look internally at what's happening, gain some knowledge. And we've worked with some of our largest water users in the city. So there is no property that is too large, because we've done large resorts, hospitals, anything you can really think of. So if you want to request an audit, you can go here and do that. We also have the Want Water table tents. Those seem to be very popular. So if you wanted to request those for free, we can do that as well. And then we also do landscape consultations. So the audits really focus on eternal commercial equipment. But if you want landscape help, we do have that as well. We have contracted with Dave Pratt, who was retired from our park system. I don't know if you've heard or met him before, but he was in charge of all of the parks. So in terms of landscape, there's no landscape too big. We can tackle it. Finally, we do have our rebates. I always suggest going through those other resources first. So when you come to look at rebates, you have an idea of what rebate is going to work best for you, because we try to tailor these rebate programs to help specific customers with very specific water conservation issues. So you can come here and check out our residential applications if you were interested in that. But what's most important is commercial applications. We have our deadlines down here. There are deadlines, and then how much the rebate can be. And then the different qualifications and all of the programs that are available for the multifamily. New is this water management and efficiency technology rebate. It's new this year. And that is for any kind of technology. It's open-ended. We haven't really had a rebate like this before, but you can kind of approach us and say, commercially, we need this to be more water efficient. And this is how much water we think it's going to save. Will you rebate us for it? So that's kind of a new one, but I always suggest going online and reading. We have been going through rebate money alarmingly fast this year. It's only been a month that we've had the applications open, but they've been incredibly popular. So please read over everything. Here's our water conservation office, our phone number, and our email is available here as well. Reach out and we would be thrilled to work with you.
Fantastic. Anybody have any questions for Adria? No? Okay, excellent. Thank you so much for that. It's very informative. And then we'll be moving on to Lisa McNeely. She's the Sustainability Director with the City of Scottsdale. And she'll be talking about sustainability. Lisa.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me. I know a few of you on this call. I think I've met several of the folks with utilities, but since this is the first chance for me to get to talk to most of you, just wanted to give a brief introduction. So I came here from the city of Baltimore, which is my only other local government experience, but I've done sustainability at different places. My first job in this field was at the Grand Canyon, working for Xanterra that runs the El Tavar and everything. And then I spent some time in higher education at UC Berkeley before moving to Baltimore. And so that's a diverse set. And I think what runs through each of those is that sort of the ask of me to work within that culture, within the work of that organization to develop sustainability plans. And that's what I've been tasked to do in Scottsdale as well. I should note, I'm not necessarily the first sustainability officer for Scottsdale. The city, I think, had one of the earliest local government programs. I have documents where we reported out on sustainability indicators going back to the late 1990s. And then the Great Recession hit and that program was sort of spread out and focused more on compliance. And so, but I've now been asked to, with the help of, with the support of council and of our Scottsdale Environmental Advisory Commission, to come in and help craft the city's first sustainability plan. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. And so, sorry, that was not as, even though I practiced, that was not as seamless as I had hoped. Can everybody see the slideshow now? Okay, so so just a few reasons, sort of why now, why we're Scottsdale is really wanting to focus on this sort of broad topic of sustainability. I think everyone here is familiar with the long-standing air quality issues, but also the ways that, the data around how this is potentially getting worse. This is a this problem has multiple causes, but it is something that we can work on in the context of sustainability work. Same with heat. I know that 2020, I think these numbers haven't been updated for last year, but 2020 was a tough summer. I wasn't here. I heard about it even where I was, and I think that we are starting to see that there are more ways that local governments can help find ways, work with partners to find ways to respond to this heat, to sort of manage and adapt. Precipitation is the other side of this. Warmer weather brings more rain. So again, 2020 was, I know that was, well, warmer weather can sometimes bring more rain. It brings more variability in precipitation. And so we have a drier 2020, a wetter 2021, and the summer so far seems to be about normal. And then inequality is still also an issue that we worry about. The overall poverty rate in Metro Phoenix is higher than the US average. Scottsdale's is lower. I think it's around just under 8%. But these are, I think these issues in the field of how local governments are addressing sustainability, these issues can be connected, and you want to pay attention to solutions that you choose so that you don't make these other factors worse, that you instead work to improve them. So just in the context as well as sharing what Scottsdale has done. So some of you may or may not have heard about this. This is a study that was mostly done by about last summer, a Cooler Scottsdale study. ASU came out and worked with the city to help us get better data of how hot it is, where it's hotter and where it's cooler, sometimes on a very granular scale, but also to really make sure that we have some, the GIS data and the real detailed data to understand why it's cooler in some areas than others. This report was recently, we have the newly sort of designed report that's up on our website now. If you go to scottsdaleaz.gov and search heat, just like Adria was kind of showing everybody for some of the water stuff, you will get to a heat mitigation plan website and should be able to find this study. I wanted to share out a few images from it. So this one is just land surface temperatures. This is a fairly standard look at kind of a heat map for a city. Obviously, some of these bluer areas, which are cooler, are obvious. Nobody here should be surprised the Indian Bend Wash and our park areas are cooler than our more sort of paved over, developed kinds of areas. But what's interesting about this study is that we not only took a called it Marty. I'm going to tell you that I don't know exactly what that stands for, but it's a little cart that we drove around to really look at sort of land temperatures, air temperatures, radiant heat. There's a lot of different factors that actually contribute to how hot we feel. The surface of the land is one of those. We also then wanted to look at some growth. It looks specifically at heat in some growth areas in the city. So this is, again, a little bit further of an analysis of this land surface temperature, where you can look at two different census blocks and see how much the temperature varies based on a relatively small change in tree and shrub coverage. I mean, 24% is which is on the left, is that's a pretty green. I think this looks to be mostly residential area. And it was, if I could do the math really quickly, 15, 16 degrees cooler than a similar group that only had a 10% tree and shrub coverage. And 10% is not necessarily that small. This report is, so again, the academics at ASU did this. There's lots of different slides like this, data like this, for those who are interested in pulling out more. Here's sort of another one looking at really even how small microclimates. So this is looking at, again, the radiant temperature. That's sort of what you're kind of feeling, what's kind of being radiated, sort of directed at you across just different locations in the waterfront. So for areas having almost an identical air temperature, that's that red line that goes up and down in this, you had some very, 35 to 60 degree difference in that radiant temperature, again, depending upon whether you had sort of the shade and the greenery versus less of that. And another aspect of the study, they flew a drone around, and we have a few other places in the study where you can actually see the picture, the photography, and then see that thermal photography to again see very clearly how some surfaces get hotter than others. And the point of the study was to share some broad recommendations. The city is going to, again, Many of these are pretty standard practice for what local governments are looking at doing, of increasing tree canopy. But it goes further by really helping direct those tree plantings to focus along not just where pedestrians or walk most frequently, which is, hopefully we could have a conclusion we could have reached without the study, but also really helping make sure we focus on those south and west facades of buildings as a way to kind of connect all of those sources of heat, keep the buildings cooler as well. Reduce the land area of, sort of those dark surfaces, whether it's asphalt roofs or other hot surfaces, and then increasing shade amenities, whether they're freestanding, integrated into buildings, and again, focused along where people are walking and where people are taking public transportation. The city is going to take these recommendations, and there's more detail under these in the study, and develop a heat mitigation plan. So this will likely look at both the kinds of resources that are provided, in the moment. What do we do when it is 115 out there, in terms of whether it's cooling centers, or you may have read about some of the pop-up cooling centers in Phoenix, where there's it's a much more micro scale policy response, but also the long-term management, and having that be well coordinated. And this will involve us probably pulling in a range of city departments that maybe don't normally work together to have those conversations, and to figure out how it is that we do want to coordinate and collaborate, not only within the city, but potentially even with other cities in the region. But I did promise to talk about the sustainability plan. So this is roughly our framework. We currently have again, ASU, as part of an intergovernmental agreement, helped us over the last year in terms of reaching out to staff, to reaching out to community members. We had 2 community meetings in May, and also talking to the Scottsdale Environmental Advisory Commission to help us kind of craft a framework for a sustainability plan. I've been working over the last month, and will be continuing to work to take that and refine it, have more in-depth conversations with groups like this group, but also with staff, other stakeholders. So this list of sort of topics may slightly morph a little bit, but we're looking at sort of 5 different pathways, which is that are based on ICLEI, which is an international group of local governments. This is a framework that they use, but then topics that are more likely to be tied to our general plan. So we see this general plan as being kind of a next step forward from the general plan, that we're nested underneath that. It will be looking to implement and to bring to fruition the kinds of goals and policies that were outlined in that voter approved plan. And then here's just a little bit more on that timeline. We will hopefully in the next while release a survey, again, to get more public response, continuing, like I said, the outreach to staff and to the commission, and talking to other boards and commissions as well. Wanted to make sure that if anybody was really interested, the council work session on September 13th will be about the sustainability plan, along with a little bit more information about the heat mitigation plan. So it'll be an opportunity for us to share where we are with council, and hear their input, and potentially any public comment that happens there. Looking forward, over October and November, we'll then be continuing to get input, maybe scheduling another council work session if that's requested. And then in the October, November timeframe also would then have a draft that we'd be releasing publicly and hopefully take the plan to council for adoption in December. And so I had not wanted to take too much time just with me with slides because it is kind of early in the morning. But I wanted to see if, besides obviously opening this up for questions and, not trying to take the prerogative of the chair on that, but also throw out a few other questions of whether or not there's projects that you're doing that you'd like to share, that you'd like to see reflected in the plan, challenges you'd like to have included and addressed, and then also maybe who else you think I should talk to about this. So I threw out all three of my questions just to get them out because didn't have a slide and didn't want to have a slide up. But again, yeah, I'll stop at this point and see what kind of questions are. Yes, sorry, Ryan.
Hey, Lisa, I've got a question. So I'm a data kind of guy, so I'm really getting into, the numbers that you're showing. And I think, all of us that were here in 2020, we called that the monsoon season because we all remember we had so many days of record-breaking heat and rain. From your perspective, is that a trend leading up to that, or is that just purely an anomaly? And then how did 2021 pan out, being that we had a pretty good monsoon season last year?
I think that what I know about trends, and I don't have as much of the data at my fingertips as I would like, but in general, what I hear is that we're generally moving towards aridification here, which is both hotter and drier. At the same time, when you see the models of where things are going in the future, most of the time they call for a lot more variability. And so I think that in some sense, that means that what happens in 2020 and then 2021 fits with those models, that there's a lot more fluctuation around extremes, but they do tell us we are headed towards whichever way if that's up or down, higher temperatures, less water in general. Now, the water department could tell you a lot more about those projections on water than I could, but I think that's, when I think of what my role is in local government, as opposed to when I was at the Grand Canyon, it is to be looking at these trends and trying to help us all prepare for what might be that worst case scenario, but to do so in a responsible way.
Sure. No, thank you for that, Lisa. Anybody else have any questions for Lisa? Adria? Oh, she didn't want to take the floor.
Adria, please go ahead.
Oh, okay, thanks. Yeah, I can speak a little to that. In 2020, we did see a significant number of tree deaths as well as even saguaro deaths. We had many citizens, customers calling in about water bills, dying landscape, and what they can do. And one of the things that I talk about in some of our workshops is building into budgets for businesses and communities for eventual replacement of plant material. We're seeing low water use plants, which is a spectrum of plants, being the most low water use would be things that are native, and then kind of a higher low water use plant is actually something like a lantana, which we see in a lot of landscapes. So just kind of budgeting and expecting perhaps the premature death of some of our plant material. Trees also have a natural lifespan. They don't live forever. And so if especially you have tree canopy stories that are all of one age, starting to plan for the eventual replacement of those trees so you don't lose that shade all at once in 1 year. But even if I think at this point, they've basically committed to a La Nina for this winter, which can again mean less rain. And we're finding that after a particularly hard year like 2020, just a normal year of rain the following year isn't enough to make up for the deficit, especially in areas that were affected by wildfire. they would need more than the average amount of rainfall to kind of catch up. So in the long term, it's very hard on our landscapes and our plant material.
Thank you for that, Adria. Anyone else? Okay. If not, I will go ahead and turn it over to Mark Stanton, our president and CEO.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much. And Lisa and Adria, thank you for joining us today. I think sustainability is a vital cornerstone of economic development. I remember, we've come so far as a business community and as business leaders to be aware and to be alert and to work towards good decisions, to be stewards of our natural resources and of our community. I look back when I first started my career and I thought sustainability was just keeping ice in my cocktail, but I clearly have grown a lot since then. And I understand better of how important this is to all of us and to future generations. So Lisa, we're very happy to welcome you to Scottsdale. Very grateful you're here. You may not be the first sustainability director, but I'm going to say you're my favorite sustainability director. So I'm glad you're here, and we would like to welcome you both back again with updates and ideas of how businesses and business leaders can be helpful on the issue of sustainability. Also, I'd like to say thanks to all of our board members that are here today. I see a number of you out there. Give us a wave, our board members. I see many of you are there today. Thanks for joining us today. And Councilmember Littlefield, thank you as well for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you and your colleagues join us here on our EDAC and PPAC calls. Just a couple of updates of upcoming attractions and things you should be looking for is we are going to have on September the 13th, we have Sonia Andrews, the treasurer of the city of Scottsdale, which will be outstanding information about how the city maintains its fiscal accountability and responsibility and how they operate with the city treasurer's office. And then October 11th, we're going to have Sergeant Nick Alamshaw. He's the heading up the division that looks towards human trafficking issues and enforcement issues. And we've had a number of discussions on that topic, and we continue to look at how the business community can be aware and alert to the issues regarding human trafficking. A couple of upcoming events overall, as I mentioned before, and I'll mention again, it's our 75th anniversary. So everybody should be getting prepared for our big event coming up on September the 21st, our Member Palooza's 75th anniversary. And in advance of that, right now, we do have, we're coming into the home stretch for our 75th anniversary memory book, which will be a collaborative effort of historical points of interest about the chamber, many of our milestones, of course, that we've had over the years. And we'd love to have, if you're interested, we've got a number of people that are putting tribute ads in about the chamber and about their success with the chamber. And we're seeing some really creative thoughts. So those that have already taken advantage of that, thank you. And if you're interested, just call Lisa Randall. She'll set you up on that and tell you how that all works. And but we are coming up on the deadline on that. It's going to be this basically the last call this week. We're going to cap off the tribute ad. So there's a variety of sizes. I know Steve Helm has a really cool ad that very excited to that he'll share with the group. But everyone's welcome, all different sizes and information. Some folks are putting historical ads that they had run or their organization had run years ago and kind of showing a little historical reference to where they've come from. So thanks for everyone that's participating in that. And then also, I know that we had a mention earlier from Scott. Thank you, Scott, again for being here today about a ThinkZilla event on a diversity summit. We are welcoming ThinkZilla on August the 10th at a Chamber University event. So if you haven't signed up for that, Chamber University on the afternoon of August the 10th with ThinkZilla. So with that, and I should also wish everybody a happy National Rice Pudding Day. I noticed that this morning on the way to the office. So I figure Justin Lehman, who's our resident expert on desserts, would be particularly interested in that. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield and give the floor back to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate that. And want to say thank you for everybody again joining this morning. It's good to see everybody. I want to thank our speakers this morning for giving us the excellent information on everything that's going on in the city, our council members that have joined us. And if there's any questions, I think we can open it up one last time. Once, twice, third time's a charm. All right, well, we're going to give everybody some time back in their day. And thank you all again.
Thanks for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Great job, Ryan.
Okay, Justin, rice pudding. Oh, he just got off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good to see you, Steve.
Steve,
Everyone-
you doing okay? Every time I'm out of the office, something crazy happens. I don't want any more of your little stunt work, okay? Enough of that.
That's okay.
And thanks for dropping off that wine. We were gonna keep it for the Member Palooza wine poll, but I was just so darn thirsty. I had to finish it off.
I'm just glad it made it in the office after I took my fall.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the other
Oh,
thing
no,
that's
the
now
wine.
legendary is that Steve took a little bit of a tumble because he was juggling chainsaws on the way into the building. But without a doubt, he might have taken a fall or maybe even gotten hurt, but he saved the wine,
No.
which in my book makes you a superhero. Thanks, Steve. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you all.